What's up, A to Z Sports Nashville, primetime edition. Easton Freeze coming at you, not live. I want to apologize because I know that a lot of you genuinely do tune into these things for the fact that they are live. But please, please don't touch that dial before you run screaming frustrated at me. Let me explain why we aren't live today. Let me explain what we're talking about because we've had some very explosive NFL news come down just about an hour before I recorded this on Thursday evening. And I think it pertains to the Titans. And also going to share with you guys some insight from some fellow A to Z writers on some of the waiver claims the Titans made tonight. So a lot of good stuff to share with you that you're not going to hear anywhere else. So I do implore you, please stay. The reason we're not live tonight, and I mean this, once the season starts, like this is the last preseason game for me on the primetime show in terms of not being live. Unless some unforeseen tragic circumstances befall us in the regular season, I will be on Tuesdays, my normal day. You may be wondering, why is Easton on Thursdays? Well, because there's been a number of things that have led to this moment this week. Buck wanted to do Tuesday night because his name's on the thing. It's his show. And that was roster cut down night. So I said, go for it, man. I'll switch. We'll do Thursdays. And I thought that I would be able to do this Thursday live. The story you don't care about. Essentially, I'm basically choosing a little bit of work-life balance before we dive into the bunkers together. The regular season starts, and there is no more work-life balance for somebody like me in sports media. It's just go all the time and put anything on hold to be able to talk about sports and do the sports things. This weekend, Labor Day weekend, is basically the last hurrah before we go into the long fall and the long winter of the NFL, which I can't wait for, obviously. But in terms of spending time with friends and family and going on a trip and doing some things that I've been working hard this week to get ready to leave first thing Friday morning for. And basically tonight I was presented with the options of either spend some time with my daughter, who I'm not going to see all weekend because I'll be on a trip, a bachelor party trip for one of my best friends growing up. Spend some time with her before she goes to bed, or do the live show. And as much as I love you all, I really do. I appreciate. I love doing live shows on the A to Z Sports YouTube channel. I love spending time with my daughter on a busy work week, which I've not had a whole lot of time with her before I leave for an entire weekend and don't see her just a little bit more, just a little bit. So I hope you don't hate me for making that business decision to spend some time with her and be a good dad and enjoy my time with my daughter, who I have missed this week with all of the waiver wire nonsense dearly. I was greeted today, by the way, on the topic of my daughter. I came home from the Titans facility where we saw some practice. We talked to Mike Borgonzi. We're going to show some clips of Mike Borgonzi here in just a minute. To her first steps. How exciting is that? We've been drilling walking with essentially, she has this, it's basically a shopping cart that we go out in the driveway, and I've been coaching her up. We've been doing laps, and I've been trying to get her to, she's very good at it when she holds on to the bar, to the point that she clearly doesn't need the bar, but I think it's a mental thing. It's like, you got to learn to let go of the bar. And I know you can do this, and really trying to push her to be her best self. And I came home today and I sit down with my wife for 30 minutes on the couch, and then she just starts doing it. And then we go, well, can we replicate this? And so my wife picks her up and walks across the room and says, can you walk to daddy? And I'm like, come on. And she walks across the room, and it is wobbly. There's some wasted movements in there. I think the NFL scouts would have some concerns about her form, but you got to start somewhere. You know what I mean? And it was an exciting moment. We got it on camera and everything. So what a cool day for me as a dad, who I'm now going to spend a celebration for her. We're going to spend the evening together and have some fun. But with you all, now that I've gotten all of my personal things off my chest, the things that I'm sure you guys don't really care about. The news of the day, besides my daughter walking, that maybe, has a little bit to do with the NFL and with the Titans, is that Micah Parsons was traded by the Cowboys to the Packers for 2 first-round picks, a player, a Kenny Clark defensive tackle, going to be 30 years old this year, and they're paying him, I don't have it in front of me, an ungodly amount of money. He reset the edge market entirely. It's a 4-year, $188 million deal, something in that territory, I believe. Don't quote me on that. The contract terms are not the topic of our discussion today, so it's neither here nor there, frankly. Exciting stuff, though, to see I would argue the best pure pass rusher to enter the league in 20 years maybe, be traded in his prime, 26 years old, I believe he is, somewhere in that neighborhood. And how about Jerry and those Cowboys, baby? Jerry needs to be put in a home. Did you know that Jerry Jones is older than Joe Biden? He is. That's true. You can look that up. He stinks. He is an annoying soap opera when he's not doing things, when he's just talking and not doing things. And when he chooses to do things, they're increasingly insane, like this is right here. So if you're a Cowboys fan, I do feel for you a little bit. I don't feel too bad for Cowboys fans because they get everything handed to them on a silver platter. But in this instance, I am compelled to feel just a little bit bad for you because you clearly root for a team that has no interest in being a serious franchise and winning football games. Sorry about that. There's going to be a topic on the morning show tomorrow, and I'll go ahead and tease that you'll want to tune into. I almost did it tonight, but since we're not live, and this topic, this discussion question demands a live audience, and I think it demands two hosts to go back and forth on it. So JT and Austin will have you covered. Tune into the morning show for them to talk about essentially a tweet I sent out when my initial reaction to this was, hey, finally some other team did it. What is it, you might ask? Well, the it in question is trade away your best player entering their prime. Actually choose to do that. The Titans did it in 2022 when they traded away A.J. Brown for, we all know how that went. And they had been the embarrassing reigning title holders of actually traded away your best player in their prime, which teams don't do, for 3.5 years until today. Now the Cowboys have one upped them. And I am inclined to argue that this is a far worse decision on Jerry and the Cowboys' part than the Titans and the A.J. Brown decision. As horrible as that was, this is somehow worse. And apparently me tweeting that, I realized quite quickly because of the likes and the comments and the screaming that I saw, that's a controversial topic. And so they're going to talk about it tomorrow morning. Tonight, we're going to talk about the Micah Parsons trade, one that many Titans fans seemed to want to make for the Titans. Like I saw a lot of Titans fans unironically saying, go get Micah, go get Micah. We're going to talk about what the Titans actually need to do at edge, because I asked Mike Borgonzi about that today, and he gave an answer that wasn't exactly encouraging or maybe inspiring, whatever words you want to use, as well as sharing some things on the waiver claims, and then we'll get out of here. Got to first tell you about our friends over at Two Rivers Ford, one of our two lovely and amazing sponsors. The Ford dealership in Mount Juliet, Tennessee is Two Rivers Ford, and they are the South's most trusted Ford dealer. So if you're searching for a trusted Ford dealership in the Middle Tennessee area, Two Rivers Ford has you covered. They are the leading Ford dealership in Mount Juliet and pride themselves on offering an exceptional selection of new and used Ford vehicles with a particular focus on the ever-popular F-150 and F-250 Super Duty trucks. Their commitment to customer satisfaction and quality service sets them apart from other car dealerships in the area. So thank you to Two Rivers Ford for sponsoring A to Z Sports Primetime, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Thank you also to our friends at TrueMav Fitness. Your first workout free at TrueMavFitness.com. TrueMav offers more than just your average workout. Their signature programming is a challenging boot camp style class that offers high intensity training. And these classes are led by instructors who are consistently pushing your limits and inspiring you to be your best self, not only inside, but also outside the gym. Again, first workout free. Tell them we sent you here at A to Z Sports Primetime. No workout recycled or repeated. So thank you to TrueMav and thank you to Two Rivers Ford. Okay, so the edge news, of course, Micah Parsons being traded from the Cowboys to the Packers. That's insane. The Titans' edge room could not be any lower on the totem pole of interest here. When Micah Parsons is the top of the talent and interest totem pole for edge, the Titans' room is whatever the opposite of those two things are, right? We've established this Titans' edge room is really uninspiring and could be a massive problem for them this year. The Titans have the number one waiver claim. The first round of waivers processed Wednesday afternoon. And they claimed 4 players, a couple of cornerbacks, a defensive lineman that's listed as a defensive end, but you go looking up. Oh, this guy's was 6'2", 300 pounds. He's an interior player, and a linebacker. And we'll talk about all of those guys, and maybe I'm going to give you a quick rundown on who they are so that you can be up to date on who these newcomers are as we enter the season. But none of those guys are an edge player. They don't provide you any edge rush. So what's going on here? I want to start before I ask our Two Rivers take question of the evening. I want to start by playing this clip from Mike Borgonzi today in response to my question, which was, why did you not claim any edge players? Why have you not signed any of these aging edge players that are still on the market? Are you satisfied with your edge room? Here's what he had to say.
And seeing if those prices change, that kind of thing.
We're always looking for every position, but our edge group has done a good job. We added Ward in here and Draymond in the offseason. and then having Harold here, back here, you can play some special teams as well. So that process of evaluating position groups never ends. We went through and evaluated what could come free here in the preseason, and we felt good about with the guys we had.
So tonight's Two Rivers Ford take, the question that I am going to ask you all, even though I can't go to the chat to see your answers, please discuss amongst yourselves. What do the Titans need to do at edge between now and, I would say, the beginning of the season, but the beginning of the season is right around the corner. How about now and the trade deadline? What does this team need to do? I know that many folks unironically wanted Micah Parsons. Obviously, that is off the table. It really was never on the table. And, I want to put a pin in that and get back to kind of some roster building conversations, because I'd imagine some people look at the Packers and say, well, look at that. That's aggressive. That's a team with a young quarterback, a young roster, being aggressive, identifying their window as now. Why couldn't that be the Titans? Fair question. Let's circle back on that. But first, I had some conversations today at the Titans facility, to be transparent with you. Kind of just talking clearly on the record and some off the record about this situation. And listen, the Titans aren't delusional about the fact that a trio of Draymond Jones, Arden Key, and Femi Oladejo as your top line edge rushers isn't burning the world down, right? And there is upside there. There's upside with Femi, but we understand he's a multi-year project type player. Not sure how much of an impact he's going to have this year. I maintain what we talked about on the morning show a month ago, 2 months ago now, closer to the draft, when I said I wouldn't be surprised if he had a Harold Landry-esque rookie year. The Harold was also a second-round pick, edge rusher. And I believe Harold had 2.5 sacks that season. Now, sacks aren't everything. I forget his pressure number. It was also, middle of the road, below average. But he finished, a lot of that his production came in the last 6-ish games of the year. He finished strong, and then we saw what his trajectory was. And you obviously hope that Femi Oladejo's ceiling is higher than what Harold Landry's was. But bottom line, Harold Landry became a double-digit sack multiple years in a row type of guy. Femi Oladejo becoming that, it would be a very, very good thing, right? A fantastic thing for this Titans team. He's not going to be that this year. I by all means, Femi, prove me wrong. I will be happy to eat my words, eat my shorts on whatever show you'd like me to, if you are an instant impact player. But I just don't see that, man. And obviously we know what Arden Key is, and Draymond Jones, I don't quite know what he's going to be for this team, but he's a guy that got a big contract in Seattle and flamed out. And there's a reason why he came to the Titans this spring for the deal that he did. And on the 1 year, I think it's 1 year contract for significantly more reasonable money than what he was being paid. And he's probably being, frankly, probably a hair overpaid just on paper for what I'm expecting him to do in terms of a pass rush impact. So what do they need to do? If you look, let's start with the waivers. If you look on waivers, again, off the record, I spoke to somebody today with the Titans and was like, no waivers, huh? And they were like, well, did you see how many edge players got claimed on waivers? I was like, yeah, I think there was one guy that got claimed by anybody, and this person's not going to be any good. The Braden Swinson thing, that there's a reason. Let's just put it this way. There is a reason. Braden Swinson, LSU edge rusher, was a rookie, surprisingly cut by the Patriots. And everybody's like, oh, go get Braden Swinson. There's a reason why the Titans passed on Braden Swinson. And the 30 teams behind them in the draft order, besides the Patriots, also passed on Braden Swinson. Everyone in the whole league had the opportunity to claim him this week, and they did not. And he is now back on the Patriots practice squad. That's also why he fell in the draft the way that he did. So that's just a no-go. Besides him, there wasn't really a whole lot of options. Like, it's just the edge market, certainly on waivers, is bone dry. So they were going to be happy to add one if they felt like it brought something to the team. But we're talking about guys that are legitimately below Jalen Harrell replacement level edge rush players, which is not doing jack for you, right? Like, and I'm not a huge Jalen Harrell believer by any means. He's on the active roster. You'd think that he's eminently replaceable, but you have to find somebody better than Jalen Harrell. And on waivers, that person just didn't exist. Now, in the open market, to sign guys, we've known, this is before guys got cut down, we have known there's Preston Smith. Hey, he was, his name was linked to the Titans in that ESPN article that I believe Jeremy Fowler wrote a couple weeks ago. There's Adarius Smith out of Detroit by way of Cleveland. That's somebody that Has been a significantly impactful edge rusher for a couple years now. That guy could bring some juice to the team. There's, of course, Titans legend Jadeveon Clowney. What do they do there? Besides the fact that all of these guys are 30, 31, 32 years old, they're all asking for a ton of money. And it's a pride thing for them. They would legitimately rather not play football games or this season or maybe ever again than sign with a team for a veteran minimum. And it's still $1 million veteran minimum, right? Like it's I'd sign up for that tomorrow, today, right now. But for them, it's relative. It's chump change, and it's a pride thing. They don't want to be playing on a vet minimum, and they also. It's questionable how much they bring to you on the football field. It's even more questionable how much they bring to you off the football field in the locker room. There's a reason. Whenever something seems weird in the NFL, like, hey, why are these guys that seem like impactful edge rushers available still? Why is this guy that was a 4th-round pick edge rusher at LSU that we all thought was going to be really, really good? Why is he on waivers? If something smells fishy, it's almost always because you don't know something about the situation, right? Like we have to have enough cognitive dissonance as football fans to be like, there's got to be something going on there because that doesn't make any sense. These guys aren't falling off of trees at edge is my point. And so the Titan, one of the guys I talked to at the Titans today essentially told me, hey, call our office if you find somebody. Like we're all ears. We're looking like y'all are looking. We just haven't found anybody because edge is such a brutal position to find value at. Now, the question is, you can always trade. You can always just spend big money on these guys that want big money. You see what the Packers just did with Micah Parsons. Why not go that route as a Titans team? This may sound obvious to a number of you, which, I'll just reiterate it for those in the back. The Titans are, at best, 1 or 2 years away from being in a position the Packers are in. Now, the Packers, Brian Gutekunst is the GM up there. He's in year 8, I believe. Somewhere in that neighborhood. He feeling a little pressure to push his chips in, to compete. He's got a very, very young roster. We've been talking for, it feels like 2 years now about how, wow, the Packers are so young. Their median age is 24.9 years old. Can you believe that? So they got a young roster that's all developing together. They've drafted and developed pretty well. Some misses on the defensive side of the ball for sure. But they've got some young players that can play. Maybe no stars, but some guys that can play. The meat and potatoes of their team is put together. And so they're a contender in, I would argue, the hardest division in the sport right now, the NFC North. I don't know how many people really consider them NFC contenders before the Parsons trade. I'm sure some did, but you were talking about NFC contenders, like it's clearly the Eagles, duh. And then it's like probably the Lions, maybe the Commanders, maybe the 49ers, maybe the Rams if Stafford stays healthy. And then you get to like, okay, well, the Packers, throw the Packers in there. That's kind of the conversation that they're in, right? Now, with Parsons, they're a Super Bowl contender. I've seen some very smart people who I won't pretend to know all of the ins and outs of the Packers and the Eagles rosters the way that I would want to study them to be able to answer this question fully. But their roster may be the closest to the Eagles in the NFC, like kind of clearly at this point, because the big hole that they had was edge rush, like the Titans. So if the Titans have a big hole at edge rush and they have a young quarterback and they've got some young players they just brought in, why not them? Well, it's simply because the Packers are multiple years down this road. They have been drafting and developing for multiple cycles. They're not coming off of 3 or 4 consecutive years where they're getting nada from the draft. I mean, nothing. Even the 23 draft, Ran Carthon, Mike Vrabel's first draft, or Vrabel's last, Carthon's first with the Titans. That class is down to Skoronski, who's a very good player, perhaps your best lineman. Good stuff. And then Tajay, who's on IR and can't stay healthy and isn't looking to be a contributor until he, can change his luck with health. So and Will Levis also on IR, so you never know. The reality is this is a team that needs multiple years of a foundation for the meat and potatoes, the way that the Packers did. They also need, perhaps more importantly, perhaps I'm bearing the lead here, the Packers have paid Jordan Love. Jordan Love is proven as a commodity to them. They believe they have arrived with their young quarterback, and the time is now. The strike with iron is hot with this quarterback situation. The Titans think they have every reason in the world right now to think Cam Ward's the guy, but he has thrown 0 NFL passes. He has no touchdowns or interceptions or completions or attempts. He's not been sacked. He's not done anything. He was sacked once in a preseason game, gently. So they're a year at least away from being able to flip that aggression switch and push the chips in. And I think it's an interesting situation when you consider the connections, because Chad Brinker, right? We know he cut his teeth in Green Bay. We know that Green Bay instilled the Packer way in him and all of the acolytes of that system. And listen, of the team building systems to be a follower of, the Packers, who Ron Wolf, legendary NFL GM, moved in, revolutionized the program when they traded for Brett Favre. And then since then, they've enjoyed 30, 40 years of continued success and constant competition and constant playoff appearances and wins and Super Bowl appearances and rings. And so could it have been better than it was? For sure. But they are constantly in the mix and they compete. That's where the Titans are trying to go. And that's what Chad Brinker's trying to do with the same way Ron Wolf did it. Patience, determination to draft and develop, be a draft and develop team, to be wise with your capital and not go on sugar rush highs in free agency and know what things sound sexy and attractive, but to avoid them. And this is an instance of the Packers kind of breaking that rule. Now, they did this with Reggie White, if I'm not mistaken. Like, this is, I saw maybe it was Seth Walder. I forget who tweeted in the wake of all this. Like, oh, the rules for being a Packers GM the last 30 years have been pretty simple. Number one, you draft a good quarterback a couple years before you would otherwise think to have drafted the quarterback, piss some people off, but then piss them off in a different way when it turns out you just continue the good quarterback train. That's step one. Step two is whenever a generational talent at edge rusher suddenly becomes available in an exceedingly rare fashion, you just go scoop them up. You just send the house for them. And so history, repeats itself, time's a flat circle, all of those things. The Packers have done that. The point is the Titans are not there for that. They're not there for that. And they hope to be in a year or two time. Perhaps I saw, JT texted me jokingly, he texted Austin and I, that we need to tell the Titans this is exactly what you do with who did he say? Anderson in Houston. Go get the division edge rusher, go get Anderson, and this is suddenly a team in 2 years. This is what they need to plan to do when apparently, I guess, there's something in the water in Texas. The Texans break stupid and do what Jerry just did. So they'll be in that department if things go well soon, but they are not shopping in that aisle yet. So that's what I'll have to say on the edge discussion. But really do tune into the morning show tomorrow. I think that topic's going to be electric. I might even write about that topic later tonight on A2Zsports.com about the way that the Micah trade compares to the AJ Brown trade. I find that fascinating. Moving on, before we get out of here, a couple more minutes, want to share with you guys some things that I was told by some A to Z writers, some friends of mine here at A2Z Sports, who were kind enough to send me some insight, having covered the Titans four waiver claims. They know these guys better than we do, so let's let them give us the crash course. But first, we'll hear from the actual guy that pulled the trigger on the waiver claim, Mike Borgonzi. Here's what he had to say on a couple of these guys. This first one, which one is it? Jalen Armour-Davis, the Titans, I would say the premier pickup of this crop, just because there were, I believe, 4 other teams that also submitted a claim for him. And I was told today off the record, not off the record, but off to the side, I don't think the Titans would care me sharing this, that there were probably even more teams than that were going to submit a claim that called the Titans and were like, are you going to submit for this guy? Should we even waste our time watching him? And the Titans were like, yeah, we're going to get this guy. So here's what the Titans GM, Mike Borgonzi, had to say about the latest cornerback addition for the team.
Yeah, Jalen, we looked into, I've studied Jalen since back in Alabama. He has had some injuries. But we feel like we have a good plan here with the training staff and Matt that we're going to be able to get him up to speed. He's a talented corner. As we were going through, these preseason cuts, really, he was, one of the better corners out there that we saw. He's still young. He's talented. And there was, 4 other teams, I think, put a claim in for him, 4 including us. Yeah, I think anytime you can add a young corner to the roster, that's why we put the claim in.
All right, so this first blurb is on Jalen Armour-Davis. I'm trying to figure out who sent it to me. So in a minute, I will credit who wrote this. I had so many guys send me things. I've frankly gotten them mixed up. But here from Ravens camp is what I heard. Quote, Armour Davis is a fourth-year cornerback out of Alabama who has good size and explosive speed. He's been used sparingly throughout the first 3 seasons of his time in the NFL, but the Ravens were still hesitant on the idea of cutting him loose. His availability is a byproduct of the emergence of UDFA sensation Keon Martin and a roster crunch elsewhere. DaCosta, the Ravens GM, called it a nuanced, tough decision that they agonized over. Now Baltimore may lose a little sleep to see him lining up elsewhere in 2025. He'll play this season for $1.1 million in cash in the final year of his rookie contract. So that is Jalen Armour Davis. The next clip, the only other clip that I have from Borgonzi, we heard him comment on 3 of the 4 guys. This is on the Titans linebacker and defensive line additions, CJ Ravenel, and I'm going to let him pronounce the other guy's name. I'm not sure if it's Musai or Mousy, but here we go.
Yeah, Mousy, we watched in the preseason. We got an opportunity to see him here that last preseason game. We watched him in college. He's a good special teams linebacker. So those young guys that can get on the field right away and play teams, we felt like he's one of those guys that we identified here in the process. And and then sometimes you're getting guys, like I said, it's a lot of roster gymnastics at this point, and sometimes it's manipulation. And we brought Ravenel in here as a young developmental guy that we wanted to get on the roster to take a look at. We've looked at him the last 2 years. He made a big jump in Baltimore this year. Now he's a big man, he played defensive end. He can slide into 3 techniques. So anytime you can get those big guys in here and young and continue to develop them, that was our thinking on that.
So whether his name is, I wasn't sure it was Darian or Dorian. It's Dorian Musai or Dorian Mousy. I'm not quite sure. We'll get to ask him, I believe, next Monday. But here is the blurb I got from him. He was with the Vikings before he was cut. So my buddy Tyler Fornes. By the way, that Ravens blurb was from Kyle Krabs. Sorry for forgetting that, Kyle, you were the one that sent me this, because Kyle actually sent me 2. We're going to get to the other Ravens player that he sent me a quote on. But Tyler Fornes, who covers the Vikings for us, had this to say about Musai from the Vikings camp. Quote, that's the wrong one. He's a good special teams linebacker. So those young guys that get on the field right away and play special teams, we felt like he's one of those. Oh, I'm reading what we just played from. That's embarrassing. I have both of these quotes here, and I'm trying to distinguish who's this who. Excuse me. Here is Tyler Fornes' words, not Chad Brinker's words. Quote, the Vikings signed Musai as one of 4 players from the University of Auburn, including his teammate in the linebacker room, Austin Keys. He was buried on the depth chart, but flashed, especially in special teams drills. He possesses good size for the position with capable athleticism. He's worth developing, especially with his good instincts and tackling ability. At worst, he will be a positive addition on special teams, which is exactly what the Titans signed him to be. The Titans are set at linebacker with Cody Barton holding down the ship. We've seen the emergence of the 2 young guys. I think that they, as long as nobody gets hurt, right, they'll be good with those 3 in rotation. James Williams and Cedric Gray and Mousy or Musai, whose name I feel bad for not knowing quite yet. He will be the special teams guy. But clearly they saw in him, with the Titans, hosted the Vikings in the last preseason game, saw him in their own house do this with their own eyes. They saw something in his ability for a UDFA rookie to immediately be a special teams role and be claimable. I think that's a very positive indicator for him and his future in the NFL. The other player that was mentioned there by Borgonzi was CJ Ravenel, who I got a quote from also Kyle Krabs, because he was from the Ravens. He says former Ravens defender CJ Ravenel faced a steep numbers crunch for a loaded Baltimore front 7, but has the kind of stout physicality to help win at the point of attack. Between his 2 preseason campaigns in Baltimore, he's been used up and down the front, logging snaps in the B gap and also flexing him outside onto the edge, which he did more as an undrafted rookie in 2024. Ravenel went undrafted out of Missouri Western State in 2024 and boasts plus length and added development upside as he continues to learn how to tap into his ability to defeat blocks quickly to complement his presence to anchor at the point. So some detailed analysis from Kyle Krabs there. The last guy who I don't have a clip from Mike Borgonzi on, but I do want to share because my buddy Destin Destin Adams, covering the Colts. So many names tonight. I'm panicking because I'm not keeping them all straight. Destin sent me this on Samuel Womack, the other cornerback the Titans claimed a cut from the Colts. The Colts claimed him last year. He was formerly 49er. Here is, and he played a lot last year, played like 8 games. Here's what he had to say on Samuel Womack. Womack was a pleasant surprise last season for the Colts. They landed him off waivers from the 49ers with the thought that he would be a solid depth piece. Due to injuries, he ended up playing a much larger role and did so at a high level. Entering year 2, many thought he could take another step forward, but sadly, that didn't come to fruition. The scheme change hurt him significantly more than anyone imagined it would. Gus Bradley's defense allowed Womack to sit back and use his reaction speed to be more patient in coverage and make plays when the ball came. Lou Anarumo, the Colts' new defensive coordinator, his defense expects defensive backs to be more aggressive and proactive to take away wide receivers, and it caused him to struggle. He went from potentially competing for a starter job to logging reps with the third team for a good portion of camp. Hopefully this change of scenery helps him return to the success he saw in 2024, even if the Colts would have preferred that not happen with an AFC South rival. So those are your thoughts on the Titans waiver claims. I wouldn't get all excited about them. We were talking about this on the morning show, JT and I today. How good is great for a waiver claim. The bar to me is like what Darrell Baker was for the Titans last year. You know what I mean? Like he came in, he was fine. He did not kill you. You could roll with him. Do you want to? No, but could you roll with him? Yeah, you can get away with that. And that's what happened. So that's what happened with him. It's what happened with Sam Womack. Pretty, I would say not quite as good as Baker last year. Statistically, I'd have to look at what Baker's stats were again, but he and Womack were kind of that bar to clear in terms of a good waiver claim. These guys aren't going to revolutionize your team. They're not going to change, hopefully, too much about the future of your team this year, but you are trying to just raise that floor. And for the Titans, where their backups beside Darrell Baker in the cornerback room were Gabe Judy-Lally, a guy who hasn't played much football at all in the NFL, and Marcus Harris, who has played no football at all in the NFL. They wanted some veteran guys. They now have 2 veteran guys in a room of 7. So of their 4 reserves in that room, 3 of them are veterans. And that's more like what they would prefer for this team to look like, even though Gabe Judy-Lally was somebody that they like the development of. They just need some trustworthy guys, especially with that cornerback room being maybe a little bit fragile up top. Okay, that is the show for today. Again, apologies for not being live with you guys. I love interacting with you guys, doing Q&As on here, talking with producer Ross, all of those things. Tomorrow's live show, the morning show with Austin and JT, will be a banger. I can't wait to tune into it myself, even though I won't be on it. I'll be largely out of commission for the weekend, enjoying my last trip before we get rolling with regular season. I cannot wait to get into the weekly cadence of NFL football. It's going to be a great time. So tune into the morning show tomorrow. Check out a couple more articles I have coming on A2Zsports.com. Like the show on your way out. I forgot to ask for folks, like the show. Please do me a favor. Like the show. It's incredibly helpful. It's free. It takes you no time. You can hit like right now and then log out of here. I would really appreciate it, especially if you made it to the end of this show. Like the show for me. And on the A2Z Sports YouTube channel, we'll talk to you in the morning. Same place, 8 a.m. Be there for Austin and JT. For I was going to say for Ross, but he's not here. For me, your host, Houston Freeze. This has been Primetime on a Thursday. I'll see you on Primetime next Tuesday.